I would like to spend more time in this session to talk about what are the new offer and roadmaps that is coming out, all right, for digital power. And this will be the agenda that I'm going to cover. I'm going to separate into 4 categories. Okay, so the first one, we are talking about what are the new things in the metering offers. And then, of course, what are the new things also in the software as well as the advisor offers. And then what are the new stuff in the power quality offers. And then finally, we'll update a bit on the MarComs, trainings, and some of these assets that we have with the new offers. So what's new with metering? I think many of you have attended this metering offer positioning, and this is very important. This lay the foundations about how much you understand about the metering strategy, right? How do you position the meters in a different part of the electrical network, all right, electrical distribution network. And how do we select the right offer to answer to our customer needs, all right? So relating to things about real-time monitoring, or we are talking about how to avoid power quality penalties, some alarming functionalities, and what are the products that fit to the right application the customer is looking at. Then, of course, if you look into the real metering categories, we have three main categories. One is an energy management, really looking at just kilowatt hours, and then of course the customer needs are related to talking about cost allocation, understanding about their usage pattern, the consumptions, as well as the revenue meterings that they're probably doing some billing applications. When we look into power monitoring categories, we are looking into how to do load monitoring, how to do a network monitoring, and also how to identify and reduce any system losses, okay, power losses, and then how to improve the network efficiency, okay. And then, of course, when you touch on the last category, which is more on the power qualities, then, of course, we are talking about PQ compliance, power quality compliance. What standard are we looking at, all right, in terms of international standards or even regulations? We are talking about how we are able to do a proper PQ analysis, okay, and then of course proper PQ monitoring. So these are the 3 main categories that to answer to the customer needs. Mainly the medium voltage source, all right, from the utilities. What kind of meters we should put at the medium voltage switchboard? What kind of meters we should put at the low voltage switchboard, at sub distribution board, and even at the final distribution boards? So there are different customer has different needs in terms of metering positioning. All right. So of course, all these needs bring a very clear value proposition to the customers. Why do they need this? What is the purpose for? All right. So it's very important to understand this. Then the next thing is that from the customer needs, and then of course you need to understand a bit on your customers' electrical distribution infrastructure. All right. And then from there, you select the right meters for them. I'm not going to cover a lot of this theory, but it's just giving you some fundamental. And there are more things that we can discover from this presentation that we are recorded and we posted in the Exchange community, is that we classify all this architecture into 3 separate categories, all right? One is advanced metering architecture, which we are targeting in critical buildings, in infrastructure projects, in water, wastewater, critical buildings like healthcare, data center, semicons, all right. And then we also talking about standard metering architecture. What should fall under the standard metering architecture, and what kind of segment we are targeting? Mainly are the large, medium, but non-critical, all right, buildings. And then, of course, when we do have an economical metering architecture, which is focusing really more on the small, medium size, all right, buildings. So there are different offers that are suggested to customers in the different layer of the electrical distribution. And that should be the way that we should strategize in terms of our metering positioning and to bring the real value proposition to the customers. So the next thing I want to talk a bit on the ION 9000T. All right. So I think many of you had heard about ION 9000. We just launched the ION 9000T, which is the transient metering offers. All right. And this transient has a more capability in terms of measuring power quality, like impulse transient, oscillatory transient. So what is transient? Okay. So transient, we actually categorize them into two different transient. One is more on the impulsive type, and the other one is an oscillatory type. And these are really the events, mysteries events, means things that not easily discovered, that cause downtime and equipment damage. So remember, transient is a very damaging kind of power quality events. All right. So in terms of transient, we also had different type of transient. Some are basically intermittent interruption. Some are basically chronic degrade. Okay. Some are basically latent failure. Some are basically catastrophic failure. So there are different type of transient. And what kind of phenomena, what kind of substances you will see transients? All right. For example, capacitor switching, and also those like welding. Maybe some current interruption or for example, motors. So there are many different type of transient, and really, if you want to capture transient, you really need to have a very high resolution sampling rate meters to do this. Okay, so it's not really any conventional basic metering that you can capture transient. Okay, so I'm going to cover a bit on this part. So the impact of transient, maybe you've seen this picture before, is causing some motor winding starting to burn, as you can see from here. All right, starting to get burned, and these are really damaging, because after a while you will find that your loads are starting to fail, your motors are starting to fail, and you can see here is also caused by lightning. All right, which is damaging some of the components, electronic components. So these are basically the impact of transient. Okay, so it's not easily visible, but once you are able to capture it, it's actually quite very meaningful, and you can avoid this and keep your operation running. Another thing is that on the right side, I want to show a bit on this higher sampling rate brings better accuracy. Okay, so you can see transient, that many metering manufacturer may mention that, oh, my meters is 64 sample per cycle, you can measure transient as well. But in reality, it's not true, because if you want to capture transient, you really need to have a very high sampling rate. If you have a low sampling rate, basically your readings are not really capturing at the peak of the transient, the peak voltage of the transient. All right. So for example, if you have a 64 sample per cycle, basically what you read on the transient, so-called the voltage surge, is only 865 volts. But if you have a high sample, basically you are capturing the peak of the transient, which is 2,800 volts. So this is really the data quality that you are getting if you get the right meters to capture transient. All right. So this is just giving you a heads up. An example of for transient is really one of the key things to take note is the high sampling rate per cycle. So imagine one cycle is a 50 Hz cycle is 20 milliseconds. All right. In 20 milliseconds, you have 83 samples, 83,000 samples in this 20 milliseconds. So there's a very slim chance that you will miss any peak voltage on transient. Very slim. But if you have a lower sampling rate, then perhaps that between sample to sample, there may be another peak came out, and then you may not be able to capture it. So you really need to have the right meters to capture transient. So this is giving you a good comparison, all right, between PM8000, ION 9000, and the ION 9000T, the transient type. Okay, as you can see, some of the highlights in orange is that the sampling rate per cycle is close to 200,000 samples, compared to the lower sampling rate, which is probably 1,000 sample per cycle. All right, so the transient really have a high sampling rate, and they are capturing really the real transient happening on the network. Okay, so this ION 9000T is also substituting the CM4000. We used to have the CM4000 transient, but this product is already obsoleted, and then it's replaced by the ION 9000. There are many information asset to talk about transient in the Exchange community portal. So there are specification tools, there are differentiation standards. You can actually run through it by yourself and go to the download it. All right, the link is on top. Okay, so there are a lot of information that teaching about transients and also how we should how to promote transient in the real situations. Okay, so now I want to move a bit to the TM5500. Okay, so this is a new range of 5000 series. So if you are familiar with 5000 series, we have 5001, 5002, 5003, and 5005. But moving forward, we will have this range of 5006, 5000. In 55, we have 5570, 5580, 56, 57. So there are more expanded model of 5000 series. Okay, so what are the difference? The difference are basically those highlighted in green. Okay, so basically in the 5000 series, we are going to have a 24-volt DC control power. And why we need this is because sometimes we may use in the medium voltage switchgear where the control power, we are talking about 30 volts or 48 volt DC. We don't really have the DC, this kind of low voltage DC for the 5000 series. The lowest we can go is 100 volt DC. All right, so now we have this 24 volt DC control power for the meters. And then of course, we do have a new functionality called residual current monitoring. All right, in short, we call RCM. And this is basically monitoring the leakage current on the network. It's basically two additional terminals and meters that we are monitoring the leakage current. Okay, so that's why we have this 5600 series. Then of course, we never have a 5000 series that can do sexual detection. Okay, so this is the first time we have in the 5000 series. The model that has the sexual is only 8000 and above. Okay, so now we have, as well as the waveform capture, we do have waveform, but now we have a sexual detection as well on the 5000 series. So these are basically the additional models that we have in the 5000 families, right? So take note on this, and then see what are the requirements, and then you can select the right offer for it. Okay, so the next products I want to update you is this called high density power meter 6000. All right, so if you are familiar with TrendPoint, this is a company that Schneider acquired last year, and they are very much in the data center segment. And so we actually commercialize this offer under Schneider brand, and we are rolling out these new offers in the coming weeks. Okay. So what are the different? If you are familiar with our existing offer called BCPM, this is a new offer. Okay. So the different, as I just highlighted, all in green box, BCPM can go up to 84 circuits. This can go up to 192 circuit. It's almost double. Okay. And then, of course, we have a color touchscreen display as an optional, so you can actually put a display together with the meters. All right. So the existing BCPM do not support any display. Okay. So now this offer have an optional display that you can buy as an accessories, and it has data logging capabilities. Okay. So you can log data into the data concentrator in this offer. Okay. So you won't lose any information when there's any communication broke down along the way between the hardware and the software. And then, of course, support protocol. There are a few protocols support besides Modbus RTU, also BATnet, also Modbus TCP protocol supports. And the most important is it does have this total harmonic distortion waveform capture for each branch circuit. For our existing BCPM, we don't really have a THD or waveform capture at every circuit, but this new offer we do have. So we are positioning this as an advanced branch circuit power meters. And then, of course, the last thing is the busway solution. I'm going to share a bit on that, right? So basically, this offer is used in data center, especially where we build this in the power distribution units, PDUs, all right? So the power distribution unit is to power up the IT racks in the data center floor, right? So this is a typical design in terms of the branch circuit. Every circuit will be monitored because every circuit is going to power up the rack. So we want to monitor how much consumption per rack. And every rack is different configuration. Some are basically a PC server, some are storage server. So they wanted to know in each rack how much energy consumed. But of course, this offer also can work on the busway. Okay, so if you are familiar with busway, we can mount this offer on the tap-off units of all these busway and then link back to the system or to a BMS, where you can do monitoring your energy consumption of individual IT racks. So there are two ways of, you can see in the market for data center, there are two different ways. One is using PDU concept. The other one is using busway to power up the IT racks. All right, so this is a typical way of where we can apply in the busway configurations. These are typically giving you some let you have a glance of all the accessories we have. All right, so yeah, so basically the split core type, the busway type, then of course the box on the left side here is the key box, is the main box where we are consolidating all the information, data, all the waveform, all the onboard loggings, everything will be done at this box level. All right, so yeah, just to give you a highlight on that. So this is a typical busway type of how they install it. Okay, so we actually put this box outside each tap-off unit, and then from there we link by communication back, all right, to the software platform. So after this, I'm going to talk now on the power tech. So we are launching two different power tech now. I'm not sure whether are you familiar with power tech. We are very we have this new power tech, which is almost like 3 years, and power tech final distribution, which is basically these small little ones, all right, CTs, has been available a while ago. Now we are actually come up with a model which is in between, all right. So as you can see, this power tech can go up to 63 amps for final distributions. But of course, when you look at the NXX power tech, it can go up to 250 amps or 630 amps. This is an NSX power tech. But we have nothing in between. The gaps are too wide. So we came out with the core power tech flex and also power tech group for 160 amps. Okay. So this is a power tech flex. Okay, so basically it's a kind of a metering where you put it at the MCCB level, all right, and it can apply to our Schneider devices or even our competitor breakers as well. Of course, if you look at, these are all the basic meterings on active energy, active power, current, voltage, all this, and it works on 3-phase 3-wire, 3-phase 4-wire. And why we use the word flex is because you can see the way that it's being installed. Okay, it's very flexible. All right, we can use in any brands of breakers in the market because you are just basically installing, hanging this CT here, and run the cable through the CTs. And then from the CT, you will go by ZigBee communication to a gateway to collect all these electrical data. Okay, so that's why we call flex, because it's flexible, all right, in terms of the installations. Then of course for a rope type is a bit different. Rope type is basically we are using a flexible, like a rope, like Rogowski coil kind of rope type, where we can go measure up to 2000 amps, all right, breakers. So there are flex, there are rope, but flex is always limit up to 160 amp. Rope is up to 2000 amp. So it's very flexible when you are doing retrofit work on some installation that you cannot shut down, but you still need to do some measurement. Then you basically find this rope type, just clamp around the cables, and then install the meters, and then you can start metering. And then most of these power tech, they are using wireless communication. So you don't really need to worry about how to run comms cable from one device to another. Basically, everything is wireless to a gateway. And then basically from the gateway, you just one cable out to the Ethernet backbones, all right, of the system. So a lot of values for this offer. Again, easy to install. Is no requirement for horizontal mounting, whatever space that you need. You just sit on top or sit below the breakers. All right. And then yeah, so basically is a device that is really bring more values. You know, when you go look into all these retrofit, where we are looking into beyond Schneider breakers and how to enable metering on the breaker, then PowerTech will be the nice fit on that. Okay, so another thing I wanted to highlight is Vigilom. So Vigilom is basically installation monitoring, and as you know, we have commercialized this offer a while ago, and also at the same time we have do a big refreshment of this offer. It means that all the legacy offer already end of life, and we are coming out with a new generation offer. All right, so some of the things that we have came up with is basically what you see is a fault locator. All right, so I'm going to cover a bit on that. Fault locator, new fault locators, and then of course display. All right, and this display we are cater mainly for the operating theater in the healthcare segment. Okay, so we came out with a display as well. Then on top of that, then there's also other installation monitors that we came up with a different series. Okay, so we also have a demo kit. So in the case that if you need any demo kit that you can bring around to show to the customers, all right, so you can actually purchase this demo kit from us as well. All right, so the best thing is to contact your EcoXpert sales manager, and they should have all the details for this. So Vigilom installation monitoring, a lot of people will ask, you know, where do we sell this offer? And this is purely is an ungrounded earthing system, all right? We call it IT systems, all right? So basically you can see that in the really solid grounding, you will have a transformer that ground, you will have a equipment that ground, and then you have a closed loop that go to the ground. So this is very dangerous. Why? Because when there's any earth fault, you basically trip the breakers, okay? Upstream, just trip it off, and then you have a power outage. Then, of course, when people touch any metal part of the loads, then they will get electrocuted. So this gentleman get electrocuted. But in the IT ungrounded network earthing system, basically you can see the transformer are not solid grounded. So there's no return path, all right, on the grounding. So whenever anybody touch here, no problem, because there's no return path. And also at the same time, when there's any earth fault issues, you will not immediately trip the breaker because it's not a fault trip. But they will not have, in this case, the continuity of power is still available there. All right, so it's safe. Okay, continuity of power availability is still there. And this is normally we apply in all these very critical facility where they do not really can afford any downtime outages. Like for example, some of these applications is healthcare, some of the industry as well, then solar, all right, then marine for sure, all right, because marine you don't have solid ground on to the sea, right? So marine, we apply this also on the medium voltage and grounded network as well, all right. And then of course the DC network. So basically, there's a lot of applications about installation monitoring. And if you look into our new catalog for 2019, beside the refresh of all the offers, there's also all these applications that what it covers and how do you apply it in the different kind of segments. Okay, so it's a very comprehensive catalog. I would suggest is that if you're interested in this offer, you can actually look into it. So just to give you a heads up is that our competitor for this offer in the market today is Bendel. All right, if you heard before this brand Bendel, they are our number one competitors, and we are basically in a good shape of competing with them now with our refresh offer, and we are very competitive. And yeah, so it's something that is good to start to learn more about installation monitoring. And it's a very unique applications that you can sell to many different segments. So I want to move on to software advisor. So the first thing to highlight is really the demo site. Okay, so we really update all our demo site with PME PSO 2020. This whole demo site is really for our partner like you to use this as a platform to demonstrate the capabilities of PME PSO to your customers. Don't need to reinvent the wheel of like showing a small little meter connect to a software. This demo site is sitting on our cloud, and it's open to anyone. All right, and it's really a good tools where you can demonstrate the full functionality of PME PSO. Right. So whenever there's any new feature, you will see from the demo site that what is new. Then you can highlight some of these new things that the customer. So one of the new thing, as I mentioned, is this IO 9000. All right, what kind of waveform that we capture, how we visualize it, how we analyze it. Everything is inside the PME demo site. Okay. So remember, go to this link, register yourself, get access to the demo site, use these tools to do more promotions. Then the other thing I wanted to share is that EnergyXpert. I'm not sure how many BMS EcoXpert in this call, but take note that the EnergyXpert is going to be end of commercialization 1st of January 2021. The reason of doing it is because if you look at the new EBO, it's already have some capability of doing some simple energy management, dashboarding, and also maybe some simple reports. So you don't really need to have this EnergyXpert as a add-on modules to the EBO. All right, so we actually going to end of commercialize this offer. Of course, if you want, then the next thing is to go into PME, all right, standard PME. And PME have more capability and is really a differentiator capability compared to the EBO. Okay, so for PME, early this month, we actually released this cumulative update 1. Okay, just to highlight about this, what is this cumulative update is that we have built this ESG P3 driver into the PME as a native driver. So what is native driver? Native driver means that when you install PME, P3 driver is automatic there. You don't need to do any optional install, all those things, all right? And also you can support our flash alarms. Beside that, you also support ESCO switches, all right, ATS. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with ESCO. So we have built this driver inside PME as well. And you can actually look into the demo site. We already have all these features as part of it inside our PME demo sites. And then, of course, along the way, cybersecurity improvement is something that almost every release, we definitely will have some improvement on cybersecurity, just to make sure our software are bulletproof to cyber attack. Okay, so of course, we are also complying to the latest cybersecurity standard, which is the IEC 62443. Okay, so remember that these are the improvement done on the PME. And then, of course, for PSO, power SCADA operations, all right, there are more things on that. Okay, so in fact, beside the P3 driver, we also include the ESG T300 driver. If you are familiar with ESG T300, is basically our RTU drivers inside this PSO. Okay, and now with the new feature, you can do control over web clients. Okay, so imagine web clients do control. So these are some of the new things that is available in the PSO as well. Then of course, again, PME PSO is our key software platform for power. So definitely in terms of cybersecurity, we will keep on improving, and then definitely will follow the latest cybersecurity standards that are implementing globally. Okay. So I want to talk a bit on these applications. All right. So now we are going to touch a bit on application. When we look into ESG P3, okay, with our flash enabling capabilities, we basically you look here is a power SCADA screen. Then of course, when you have our flash happen, you can actually put a symbol on that as well. So we can actually looking at all these our flash alarms in the graphical way. Okay, you can put symbol on that. Then of course, there are remote notification capabilities that when anything happens, you can actually send email, send SMS to your cell phone, to your tablet, all this, all right? So these are Then most important is also when there's any arc flash happen, we actually capture the waveform here on the right side, the arc fault, and to understand a bit on how this arc fault happens and when it happens, and then how it correlate to some of the devices, what other devices downstream see on this arc fault, see any impact. So we are able to put everything into one single view to look at what are when there's an arc fault happens, other devices downstream, upstream, do they see the same impact as well? The reason is also by doing this, you are able to quickly know what are the impact that is causing your downstream loads or the downstream equipments, that caused by this arc flash. So a lot of time when we do all this analysis, we always looking at just arc flash, but we are not able to have visualization in terms of how is it impacting the whole electrical network. So by having this view, you're basically able to look at all those devices at the different part of the network. Okay, how the arc flash actually impact it. Then another thing is more on the protocol support. Okay, so for PME PSO, IEC 61050 only apply in PSO but not in the PME. And then of course the data that we can retrieve from the P3 will be all the real-time data from the relays, protection relays, onboard alarms, waveforms, breaker controls. Okay, so one thing take note on that is the firmware of the relays. All right, so if you want to apply this relay into PME PSO, make sure the firmware of the P3 has to be 30.201 or greater. If you have a version which is smaller than 30.201 or lesser, then you need to upgrade the firmware of the P3 relays. Then you will be able to integrate this relay into the PME PSO with all the functionality that I mentioned earlier. Okay, then of course another application we are talking about is T300. Okay, so this is a substation automation, is RTUs that works with the power SCADA operation, the PSO. One of the application is like you can visualize, like when there's a trip happens, you open the loop, then of course the T300 have some intelligence to manage all these situations, and then re-energize, and then you after that, when everything goes well, the loop came back, then you can actually turn on back the breakers. So this is considered a medium voltage loop reconfiguration, all right, automatic. So this application is already available in the T300 integrating to the PSO. All right, so this is very much in the application, and very much if you are having a loop medium voltage network, this could be something very interesting for the customer in terms when there's any fault, how to correct it and how to recover it in the shorter period of time. Okay. Then of course there are also other new application related to all these utility markets where we are talking about substation automations, especially for small and emerging utilities that they are not so demanding in terms of substation automation. This could be a good solution for them, and a more cost-effective solution as well, compared to those where they need to implement a large distribution management systems. Then those are really big projects. All right. So if any of these your customers require simple substation automation, so using T300, using PSO could be something more economical and easy to implement for them. Okay. So another application will be more on the transfer switch controller. All right. So transfer from one source to another. So these are also can be done by the T300 as well. Okay. So then of course, what are the data we can retrieve from this is all the metering data, all the IOs data that connected to the T300, on the onboard alarms, and then some of the all the remote control operations. All right, so we can retrieve all this information and display in a graphical way or display in the PSO. All right, so all this could be done. Okay, good. So Power Advisor. Okay, so I'm not sure how many of you have familiar with Power Advisor. So I just want to highlight a few things on this Power Advisor. So just a quick highlight on Power Advisor. All right, so these are some of the things that what the Power Advisor can do. All right, power qualities, data quality, system health. Okay, so these are the things that you can actually read from the reports of the Power Advisor and bring all these critical issues to your customers, helping them to fix all these issues, and then sell your services, sell more products to them eventually. All right, so these are the things that we can bring this value at this period of time, and of course, the deployment of Power Advisor is very simple. All right, so you just need some extraction of the data from PME, upload to the Schneider portal, and then automatic you will generate a report, and then the report will show power quality, data quality, system health. Then of course it's the job to understand the report and prioritize what are the important things your customer should do in order to keep their power availability and reliability. All right. So now at this point of time, it's not so much talking about energy saving. It's really talking about in some of the essential activities, they need to make sure that there are continuity of power. All right. Or else then you will be very disruptive. All right. Okay. So yeah, so some of this information I can share, but you can actually download yourself. Okay, how to do all these Power Advisor assets like customer presentation, customer success stories, and also some of the reports that you think that it's good to show the customer so that customer understand the report and they know what are the things they are looking out for, in terms of improving their system health and network health. Yeah, so all this link is there, and then you can download from there. So videos, brochures, everything is available in the asset. So I will send these materials to Alice, and then you can actually, from the link, you can actually download it. So I want to go a bit more into the power quality. Okay, so what's new in power qualities today? A quick update is on the AccuSign. So we have a new catalog, which is a 2020 catalog for AccuSign. Okay, so PCS Plus, PCSN, PFV Plus. Okay, so please download all this new catalog. It gives you all the updated information about AccuSign. Of course, I want to spend a bit more time to talk about VARSET. Okay, so VARSET basically is our capacitor bank equipment. Okay, and what we have done so far is on the VARSET is that we are making it to be IoT enabled. Okay, so Internet of Things enabled. Of course, you can get a lot of information from this VARSET. Let me run through this VARSET stuff. So power quality, as you know, AccuSign solve all the issue about harmonic issue produced by LED lightings, produced by VSDs. So this is helping customer to ensure that the power reliability is remaining very good, and there are no issue related to damaging of all these electrical equipment due to heating, because harmonics actually produce heat. All right, cause the equipment to produce even higher temperature. All right, so then the same thing for VARSET. VARSET is a bit different. VARSET is always looking at more on the how we can improve the power factor. Okay, so power factor is mainly for the VARSET. It's a power factor correction equipment. So in terms of VARSET, we have three different rating. As you know, this is a equipment. This is not a component. It's not a capacitor. It's a capacitor bank, and it's a type tested capacitor bank. Okay, so we use this VARSET to if you have poor power factor at your load, or maybe your load require a lot of reactive power, then you need to put capacitor bank to produce more reactive power for your loads. All right. And then, of course, if your power factor is below certain and you keep on getting penalty in your utility bills, then that is where you need a capacitor bank to improve the power factors. All right. So basically, we have all the different rating of the kVAR in a capacitor bank in different kVAR for different purposes. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight is more towards how we digitize the power quality. Okay. So you can see today the conventional way of capacitor bank are basically you have capacitors, cans, or you have controllers, you have reactors. Everything go by steps. All right, 1 step, 2 step, and then you cut in how many kVAR required to compensate the power factor. But now moving forward, you see there are actually more intelligent in the capacitor bank. All right. So beside just all these standard things that I've talked about, we also have thermal sensors inside the cubicle. So what the thermal sensor does is basically looking into the temperature of the cubicle. Is there any rise of temperature over time, kind of things. And we also have any heat tag. All right. So when anything start to burn and the temperature start to rise, then this heat tag will basically activated, and then you will trip the breaker. All right. So we have all these precaution in terms of safety. Then of course we also start to look into putting all these communication gateways into the cubicle. Why? Because we are bringing all this information to the cloud or to a software platform where we are remotely monitoring the performance of the equipment. At the same time, we also can measure the derating of the capacitors. All right, so capacitor over time, it will start to derate. So once you go below 70% of the capacitance, then it's time to go and change the capacitor. All right, so because of the derating, because of aging, wear and tear, you will start to see that things starting to fail. And then of course, imagine if all the capacitors start to fail, then definitely there are no kVAR to compensate anymore. All right, then the power factor will not improve, and then you will keep on getting a penalty from the utilities, right? So we are moving all this information either to the software, PME, or to a facility expert, which is a cloud platform, where we are looking into the performance of the equipment and also looking at the derating of all the components inside the capacitor bank. All right. So again, this is not selling as a component. This is selling as an equipment. So it's very meaningful for EcoXpert if you are providing all those measurements, also software to your customers, and then from there you understood that the customer have some issue related to power factor. The way to promote to them is to promote the VAR sets, the equipment to them to compensate and to improve the power factors. Okay, same for the harmonics filters. When there's any issue with harmonics, the way to sell is not to sell them a filter, then they have to do their enclosure, all those. No, sell them an equipment, harmonic filters, and to compensate the harmonic on the network level. Right. So that should be so basically, if you look at the whole entire cycle, is that we do have offer that are able to do measure. We do have offer that we can connect it to the software, that we can do visualization, understanding, and then of course the analysis. And then we do have offer once we related to power qualities or power factor, we do have offer that help to mitigate and optimize. All right, so that is the whole entire portfolio we have. So again, is that power factor efficiency, connecting power quality, make your installation efficient, reliable, safe, and simple. Okay, so these are some of the key features that we have in the VAR set. All right, so really is one of the best in class equipment that we have so far, I would say, because more and more intelligence putting into all these equipment, where you can provide more visibility in terms of performance, and also any of these components start to fail, you get to know about it remotely. Okay, so yeah, so this is how we do it. We have a lot of different things that plug into this new VAR set. Okay, we monitor temperature, we're monitoring heat tag, all right, related to heatings. We bring all this information to the cloud, to the software, all right, yeah. So the last thing will be more on the assets. Okay, so I want to touch a bit on the assets. As you know that we do have a lot of videos. I'm not sure whether have you seen before, or maybe I posted some of this video on the WhatsApp. It's a 60-second videos. All right. So we talk about ion technology in 60 seconds. We talk about power tech in 60 seconds. We talk about some offer like HDPM 6000 in 60 seconds. So we have plenty of 60 seconds videos. All right. I think this kind of video is good when you set the stage correct. When we want to do a customer presentation, show them the video of the 60 seconds, so that at least the customer understand, okay, what is this offer all about in 60 seconds. All right. May not be deep dive, but at least he has some knowledge about what is this offer in 60 seconds. So we have a lot of 60-second videos that we have produced. So please capitalize on these videos to help you to promote, rather than you keep on explaining. So the 60-second video is very easy to understood, and then set the stage correct when you want to do any deep presentation into the topics. Then, of course, MarComs, we do have a lot of more and more success stories, just to let you know. But all these are inside the Exchange community, leverage on all these customer success story to help you to sell more. And then, of course, we have white paper. When we look into white paper, it's always talking about technology. All right, so technology, we will produce white paper. So there's a lot of white paper there as well. Then, of course, some application notes and here and there. So leverage on all this information to help you as well to learn better and also to demonstrate it to show to your customers. Again, we also have a lot of segment success story. So if you have any areas where you need to know more about segment, so we have all these application notes for segment. You can also leverage on all these segments to learn a bit more to understand, especially when you want to penetrate to a new customer where you don't really know their business well, their process well. So this segment guide will give you some heads up, to understand, what kind of problem this kind of customer will face related to electrical power. Okay, so at least when you go to a customer will feel that you are the segment expert. You know exactly their business. All right, so that will help you to gel up very well, and you will be able to sell more to this customer.